We got more severe weather on the way, with damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes potentially on the way. So I'm going to be talking about what you need to know about this severe weather potential. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to start off with what we could be expecting for today. So let's move over to our day one outlook. It is Thursday, April 16th, 2026, and we got a chance for severe weather all the way from parts of Arkansas, northern Arkansas, all the way to parts of the northeast. We got a severe weather potential for quite a pretty big area today. So, yeah, and we got damaging winds, hail, and maybe even some tornadoes on the table today. So, yeah, we got a slight risk for severe weather, which is level 2 out of 5 in northern Arkansas. We got a slight risk for severe weather in parts of New York and in southern Vermont. And then we got this marginal risk, which is a level 1 out of 5, which is green going around it, where we could see some scattered severe weather. And can't forget this little marginal risk down here in parts of Texas, where we could see a few severe storms today as well. So, yeah, and then you heard me mention that we might see some tornadoes today. Down here, we do have a potential for an isolated tornado or two in parts of northern Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee, and northwestern Mississippi. Isolated tornado 2 would be possible. That does include Little Rock and Memphis. You guys need to be staying prepared for maybe an isolated tornado or two. Syracuse, you guys are under and Utica, if that's how I say it, you guys are under a 5% tornado risk for today, and a 2% going around it, including Rochester over there towards Rutland, Vermont. So, can't rule out some tornadoes today, so that's something to be watching. Damaging winds, though, are going to be mainly the main concern. So, you can see here, there could see some damaging winds within these areas out here. With that 5% wind risk, and then you can see here we have a 15% wind risk up here, so kind of just not a very big severe weather threat today. We also got that wind risk down there. We also do have some hail threats, so hail is going to be a pretty big concern. So if you're in these highlighted areas right here, you guys need to be making sure you're parking your car in the garage so that doesn't get damaged by hail, but especially if you're over here near Memphis, inside of that area in northern Arkansas. So, yeah, those are all of the risks right there of what we could be dealing with, but let's check out the future radar here and let's talk about some of these storms some more. So the storms will start coming through some of these areas as we get into the afternoon, into the evening. As you can see right here around, this is right here, this is around right here, this is 12 p.m. Eastern right here. So, it's noon. And then if we push this up some more, you can see we got some storms potentially starting to fire off down here in parts of southern Missouri, and some storms starting to fire up down here in parts of the northeast around 3 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll have some of those storms continue to push through some of those areas. And then you can see that we could be dealing with some severe weather up here with some of those storms out there. And then maybe an isolated tornado, and then you can see some of these storms that will pop up down here as well. Push this up some more. You can also see that we're going to be dealing with a few thunderstorms up here. Push this up some more, you can see some of the storms continuing, and then they'll kind of just move out of that area. So not that big of a severe weather threat today, to be honest with you guys, but it's definitely something to be staying weather aware for, because some people could get hit by a few storms today. If you check out let's check out CAPE. This stands for Convective Available Potential Energy. Just think about storm fuel. Let's check this out. We're gonna have some out here today. So, like, we're not gonna have that big of a tornado day today. I wouldn't think so, but you can see some of that up there. And honestly, guys, I don't completely agree with the marginal risk. I think they should just have that marginal risk kind of do this and fill in this area. But I do think that we're gonna have maybe a few special estimates out here, maybe some thunderstorms, but especially just this little area. I feel like they might need to fill in that area. As we get into tomorrow on Thursday, it gets pretty concerning, as you can see here. Marginal risk expanding from parts of central Texas all the way up towards Wisconsin. And then we got this level 2 out of 5 slight risk expanding from parts of northern Texas all the way up towards Wisconsin, and this enhanced risk expanding from parts of northern Oklahoma and parts of southwestern Wisconsin. Or we could see some pretty severe storms on Friday. Hail is going to be a big concern, especially if you're in any of these highlighted areas on Friday. This is Friday's outlook for hail. You can see here the Storm Risk Center has a 30% hail risk right here in some of these areas. So we can see some pretty large hail. So make sure you park your car in your garage if you're in these areas on Friday. Damaging winds is probably going to be the main concern on Friday, especially within these highlighted areas, but especially this 45% wind risk, which is right here. We can see some pretty damaging winds as we get in the Friday. The tornado threat is also going to be pretty decently high with a 10% tornado risk in southwestern Wisconsin and northeastern Iowa. That's the area that we got to be watching the most for potential tornadoes on Friday. We got a 5% tornado risk though as well, and a 2%, and then there's that 10%. So tornadoes got to be watching as well, and the 5% and the 10% also has a tornado condition intensity group 1. So strong tornadoes cannot be ruled out as we get into Friday. So please make sure you're staying aware for this. If we switch over to here, you can see, let me give you a look at our storm that we could be seeing on Friday here. This is just to give you a little look at it. Some of those storms out there push through some of those areas. And yeah, it looks like it might become more of a QLCS tornado threat after some of those storms kind of continue to push through that area. But yeah, like as it turns more into a line, it will probably become more of a QLCS tornado threat. So yeah, and we're going to have a pretty favorable environment out there for potential tornadoes, as you can see right here. Look at all that cape that's going to be out there. You can see that we're having, let's see, around 3,000 joules per kilogram. So this is going to be a pretty big tornado day, potentially, out there. So that's definitely something to be watching very closely. So please make sure you're staying weather aware if you're in those areas on Friday. Then you might notice if we push this up some more, the storms actually move into parts of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region right there, which will eventually lead to a severe weather potential as we get into Saturday within these highlighted areas right here. So Saturday, if you're in these highlighted areas, you need to be staying prepared on Saturdays. We could be dealing with severe weather with a level 1 F5 marginal risk expanding from parts of northern Kentucky up towards Cleveland, Ohio, and then a slight risk expanding from Cincinnati, Ohio, through Columbus up to Canton. As we're going to have a line of storms push through some of those areas, potentially producing some damaging winds. So if you're in these areas and for Saturday, please make sure you're having a way to get alerts, as we could have some storms push through some of those areas. So yeah, and then that's pretty much what's going on with all that severe weather that we could be dealing with. So if you're in any of those areas, please make sure you have a severe weather action plan in place. And you know what to do if you ever do end up in a warning. We could be dealing with fire weather today. If you're over here towards the eastern half of the United States, as you can see right here, fire weather is going to be a potential out here, which is towards the southeast. You can see here we got elevated fire risk. And then over here towards the west, somewhere in the plains, we could be dealing with some fire weather as well. We even got a critical fire risk right in here. So yeah, some pretty bad fire weather is going to be a potential today, so that's something to be paying attention to. As we get into tomorrow, we have a pretty big fire weather risk down here in parts of the southwest, including eastern New Mexico and western Texas. There is actually a critical fire weather risk there. Then back over here towards from Charlotte up to Washington, D.C., we could be dealing with some fire weather as well on tomorrow on Friday. So yeah, fire weather is going to be a concern. If we check out excessive rainfall is going to be a concern tomorrow as we get into Friday within these highlighted areas, as you can see right here. And we also got this slight excessive rainfall risk right down there. As we get into Saturday, excessive rainfall is going to be a threat in these highlighted areas right here. So, yeah, be aware for that. And then as we get into Sunday, excessive rainfall is going to be a threat over here in parts of northern California and stuff like that. And then Monday it's going to still be a threat out there in parts of northern California. So yeah, be prepared for potential flooding in those areas. As you can see here, we're going to have some pretty warmer temperatures making its way towards the eastern half of the United States, as you can see right here. But then we're going to have some potential for, then we're going to have a cold front kind of push through some of those areas, and it's going to lead to some more cold towards the eastern half of the United States. And then it's going to get warm potentially again. So it's kind of just what's going on with the temperatures. And if we switch over to the Climate Prediction Center temperatures outlook, let's check out that right here. You can see here that there is a 50% chance of above normal temperature. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on with the temperatures right here. So, and then the northeast, it's probably going to be getting pretty cold if you're up there. and down there in the southwest as well. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got for you today in today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to slap that like button, smash the subscribe button as well. Make sure to share this video to get the word out, and I'll see you in the next weather update video. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.